Okay, I'm now ready to deliver this edict within Graven Ash's tent to the Archons. I'm actually recording this bit on a different day, and I took a bit of time to reorganize my inventory in between. Gotta sell some stuff after delivering this edict, so let's pay the Archons a visit. Yesterday you chid me for wishing to wait, now you suggest an even longer delay. Perhaps the voices in your skull ought to come to a consensus if you wish to be taken seriously. Good advice is flexible, changing with the moment. Besides, now we're agreeing with you. Yesterday, today you should be happy. We know you hate going into battle without overwhelming odds on your side. If you're so terrified of a challenge, why not wait for your reinforcements? I don't need your heckling, I need your scouting reports, or better yet, confirmation you quelled the Oathbreakers within the valley, I believe it said. Oh, that! It will solve it. We will solve it in its own time and way. We must make at least a token effort to show their mercy after all. Mercy? They have already shat upon our mercy. Once before, these gutter-born self-knobs deserve nothing better than death. Oh, calm down now. We must leave something to rule, or have you forgotten Kairos' orders? Patience, old chum. So, the Archons are bickering, and that's something we might have to get used to.
On it.
That's 4 reports of avalanches in the mountains now. The Tiersmen can barely count past 9. They have neither the capacity nor the cause to close off the mountain passes. Either way, that leaves the 2nd and 4th cohort trapped outside the valley.
The Archon of War pounds his staff on the ground to punctuate his words. A large and imposing man to begin with, his profile is made larger still by his hulking suit of armor that hums with mystic energy.
Or it's the work of your perfidious Earthshakers. Only a fool would not suspect a traitorous Archon of poisoning the mind of his students with sedition. We would have killed the Earthshakers Guild for their master's treachery, but I'm sure you have some perfectly valid reason for allowing them to live as your pawns.
The Archon of Secrets passes a scepter between his hands as he speaks, twirling a rod in hypnotic circles. You hear voices in your head. Well, hello there, Fatebinder. We'll be with you in just a moment. Emerald luminescence seeps from the seams of the Archon's ragged red robes. The glow is most noticeable where his neck ought to be. His mask seems to float and spin, never pivoting or bending naturally.
Hey, watch yourself. When these two get going, you don't want to get between them.
This whispers fearfully as she beholds the Archons. Think I'll take her advice and keep silent for a bit.
I always know you've run out of things to say when you resort to mocking my vassals. If we are to speak of treachery, why is it that my scouts see the Scarlet Chorus warriors defecting back to the Vendrian Guard? Your fearsome reputation has gone flaccid. For it seems you cannot control your soldiers, or perhaps you simply choose not to.
My lords, the Fatebinder has arrived, says Iron Marshal Arenios. The disfavored commander raises her voice, trying with little success to speak over the Archons. Perhaps we should or could table this discussion and let our guest speak.
Speaking of strategic failures, who was it that insisted the valley would need only a token garrison? For some strange reason, we can't seem to recall which balding halfwit grossly underestimated the enemy. Thoughts?
The Archon of Secrets twirls his scepter in a twisting loop, his leather-wrapped hands flipping the heavy rods with an effortless flow. You hear the voices in your head. Can you hear us, Fatebinder? Cough, if we have your attention. I'm gonna remain silent still.
And I thought you had left agents within these Tiersmen when they surrendered. Either you failed to see this coming, or you knew and let it happen. Incompetent or in cahoots, either way, this mess has your filthy stink all over it.
The Archon of War lurches forward, resting his weight on his war more as blue luminescence crackles around his armor.
We look forward to seeing you explain to Tunon why the Archon of War could not close the vice on this trivial little insurgency. When we are crowned the ruler of the Tears, we shall have this place renamed to Ash's Folly in your honor.
The Voices of Norat tosses his scepter into the air, catching it as it descends back down. You hear the voices in your head. Hello, Fatebinder. We know you can hear us. Now you know we know you know. Come on, these meetings with Ash are Saborian cough if we have your attention. I'm enjoying finding out more information. I'm going to remain silent.
If I could trust the information I get from you and your conscripted mouth breathers, perhaps I'd order my cohorts around a bit more aggressively. But last time I trusted your all-clear report, my troops failed to come home.
Oh, Ash, old boy. If you're going to have a little sob every time one of your nieces or nephews dies to the Tearsmen, perhaps we should have Siren sing you some calming lullabies to help you cope with your grief.
The Archon flips his scepter 3 times round, humming gleefully. You hear the voices in your head. Suit yourself, Fatebinder, the more you ignore us. Hold your tongue. I will not have you denigrate the honor of our fallen brethren. The commander's hand moves to the hilt of her blade. Though the weapon stays sheathed, I'd be doing us all a favor if I cracked open that excuse for a head. They bicker like children, do they not? The fifth eye's grating tenor pierces the tension in the tent, and all eyes land on the crimson spear. I meant only to say welcome, welcome to our guest, the Fatebinder. The armored retainer bows with rush-in elegance, then rises to a salute, and not a moment too soon.
Did I give you permission to speak?
The Archon of War turns to you, his blue eyes wide with anger. The many portraits you've seen depict Graven Ash with a stern, unamused countenance. He is even more taciturn in the flesh. So there's an option if you happen to be a diplomat, but I don't happen to be. Any other lose and gain favor? I'm just gonna gain a bit of loyalty with verse.
Ah, the Stormcaller. Conveniently late once more. Our eyes and ears tell us you come bearing an edict. The anticipation is killing us.
So some of the events now from the conquest decisions I made come into play, and they're gonna like some of the things I did and perhaps not like other things. So we gained favor there with the Voices of Norat and the Scarlet Chorus.
My soldiers tell me you helped Commander Drotus on your way through Eddring. You honor the court with your selfless cooperation, for that is the sort of camaraderie that Kairos demands of us all.
On the last of his words, the Archon of War glares at the Voices of Norat, furrowing his brow as he utters the word camaraderie. Gain average favor, so that was post-conquest. That's in the first level. Right, so there's a number of options here. Could be deference and bow to the Archons. Gonna tell them stop bickering. Or I require no thanks, which annoys the Voices. I'm just gonna, for the time being, I'm not really sure. Well, the reputation of the Archons affects their faction, and you get reputation skills from the factions. So it arguably is worthwhile going down a certain direction and maybe favoring someone at this point, but I'm just gonna play it neutral and focus on my role as judgment for Tunon and trying to get these to work together. So I come bearing an edict of Kairos.
It seemed only yesterday you were proving your worth in battle, assisting my warriors in the siege of the bastard city. Now Kairos has chosen you for a second time to proclaim an edict. Tell us, good Fatebinder, what sort of punishment does the Overlord have in store for the Oathbreakers?
Okay, so in honor of your incompetence and disarray, that is going to anger Graven Ash, and no doubt the disfavor because of that, because they're affected by his annoyance. Seems need some encouragement to work together, which minor wrath with voices. The Overlord's loyal servants must hold Ascension Hall by Kairos' Day of Swords, or all in the valley shall perish. The earth sways with each word you utter, the air thickening with warmth as you pronounce the tersely phrased commandment. It's every syllable drafted by the hand of Kairos. With the edict proclaimed, your pulse quickens, and the muscles in your legs, worn from a long trip down the mountains, feel renewed, the tired limbs now nearly buoyant with vigor.
The Overlord means to compel us into action. No doubt the avalanches in the mountains are part of this ultimatum. We must conquer the Oathbreakers or die in failure. There is no room for error, and no other way out of this valley alive. We'll need to advance across the Mittani. We lose everything if we stand still. And we move to backup Plan Green. The Earthshakers didn't make it over the mountain in time. So we do this the hard way. Over the walls instead of through.
The Archon of War taps a finger against his temple. A low rumble escapes from beneath his beard, or under his beard.
So you found your backbone at last! Oh, we were worried past humiliations would make you soft, timid. That was a record for you, right? The baker's dozen lost in one sortie. If you had waited for the chorus reinforcements, maybe we'd have eyes and ears on the matter.
The Archon of Secrets passes his scepter from one hand to the next, chuckling softly with each toss. You hear the voices in your head. Watch him squirm. So many tears over replaceable, expendable, useless soldiers. I miss the old Archon of War. You'd never see blood echo in a blubbering mess over a few dead killers. He'd used the knuckle bones of his best disciples for jewelry, and even made a breastplate out of his dead brother's rib cage, because that's how a real man deals with grief. So the options, a subterfuge one there for a bit of extra skill, but comes at the cost of annoying voices. That exchange a favor again, and that one I'm going to remain silent for the time being.
You make it sound like you've been putting even the slightest effort into getting a foothold across the Mittani, when all you've done is set your gangs to uncoordinated raids. You're the Archon of Secrets. Why is it you still don't know the enemy's full strength and capabilities? Maybe you know, and choose not to share.
Look, if you're afraid to send more troops against the Oathbreakers, just admit that you're a coward and allow us to take charge of the situation. The Scarlet Chorus will be happy to prove it can do what the disfavored cannot.
I think at this stage I'm gonna step in a bit and pick up the subterfuge skill. I also get a bit of minor fear with first, which is good because I've been going down that line a bit more than the loyalty one currently.
I second the Fatebinder. Thought you had the memories of one of those Oathbreakers rattling about that bronze gourd of yours. Would Kairos' mighty spy master please enlighten this gathering of allies with some scrap of strategic insight?
The Archon of Secrets turns his head to the side until the face of his mask has turned around. A new facet of the face mask presents itself as facing forward. When next the Archon speaks, the booming voice of an older man can be heard.
Cowards!
If I were still alive, I'd freeze the blood as it runs in your veins. You may take the river, but you'll pay for it with your lives.
So that is Master Hagrivar of the School of Tides. The Archon slaps a hand against his mask, rotating his mask until a new facet looks forward.
Our sources tell us the Oathbreakers had some sort of magical trick in store. But this knowledge is tinged with fear, trepidation. If we make a move for the Mitanni, we suspect the Oathbreakers will mount a counterattack that is equal parts valiant and futile.
I know that voice. Master Hagrivar of the School of Tides. The voices on rats gain average favor. So I did something regarding those within Conquest. I think I saved them and handed them over to the voices.
Yes, and that old codger put up quite a fight on the way out. Almost turned himself into a puddle to escape our interrogations. He's not the last of the Tidecasters, though. At the time of his death, there was another. A woman named Ebb. We believe she is one of the mages assisting these Oathbreakers.
So, we're back to picking sides here, by the looks of it. Wrath or favor? Wrath or wrath? Then enough talking. There's work to be done. Iron Marshal Arenos, my Lord Barrick and his band have been drilled on the Echo Call assault plan. The Crescent runners should be briefing him as we speak regarding the latest enemy movements along the river. I will dispatch him at once. The Iron Marshal salutes, clapping her gauntlet to her breastplate. And I will ensure the chorus stands ready to march. If the disfavored can take the river, the chorus has the manpower to secure the outer rim of the valley.
Our soldiers clamor for battle, and at last we shall have it. Verse, we command you to continue guarding the Fatebinder. Tunon's Chosen is our honored guest, and must be shown our finest hospitality.
I won't let you down, boss. He'll get through the campaign in one piece, as long as he doesn't do anything too stupid.
And before we forget, we have a debt to settle. Last year, when our warriors got confused about supply lines, so kind of you to understand how things get muddled in the fog of war.
The Archon of Secrets tosses several iron rings your way as he begins to leave. He taps the fifth eye on the shoulder, and with one last twirl of his scepter, the Archon departs with his underling. The voices of Narat gain average favor, Graven Ash gain average wrath. Suit yourself, Fatebinder. The more you ignore us. So we have a choice whether or not we should arguably lose some dignity by catching the rings or letting the rings fall. At the moment, I think I'd like some shiny rings to spend on some shiny armor and weapons, so I'm going to catch the rings. And quite a few of them happen to be as well. The voices of the rats, the Archon of Secrets, lets out a small chuckle as he leaves.
Finally, the fool and his puppet are gone. Perhaps now I can hear myself think. Rarely do I question Kairos' judgment, but I will never understand why the voices of Narot is given such authority. I shudder to think what will become of us all should Tunon favor him in the end. Though the edict threatens the Scarlet Chorus just as it threatens us, I cannot shake the feeling that our allies will work against us. Now, if you'll leave me be, I have a battle to plan. I imagine duty requires you speak with the chorus further, but if I can convince you to lend a hand, most of my legion is trapped beyond the mountains, so I'm in need of an added sword or two. If you wish to be counted amongst the glorious, speak with the Iron Marshal. She will direct the order of battle until we are ready for the final push into the Citadel.
I'm short of a few scouts, short a few soldiers, short a few everything. I'm sure my brethren would be grateful for the assistance of a skilled outsider. I can glitch silently, ask about the chorus, and I think I'll do that first.
I ask myself that question often. While we take the river crossing, the Scarlet Chorus should be using their sizable presence to remove the Oathbreaker patrols lurking in the Outer Valley.
The Oathbreakers have maintained a sizable force outside the Citadel. We need the Chorus's manpower to scour the region. Otherwise, the Oathbreakers will attack at our heels once we cross the Mittani. Okay, I think I shall just gain minor favour with the disfavour at this point, so I would be honoured to help. Then Marshal salutes Graven Ash, then turns to leave the tent. I will be at the training grounds readying the soldiers. Find me there when you are ready. Just short of the first tier. She pauses, clearing her throat, and though I am loath to mention it, the chorus can likely use your assistance. They certainly won't secure the Outer Valley on their own. Fifth Eye will be somewhere in that rat's nest they call a camp due east. Seek him out if you must. Okay, so that edict has pretty dire consequences. All life within the valley will die if I don't do something about it within a quick time. This quest actually reminds me a lot of Fallout 1's water chip, I believe it was, where you had to rush. Whereas it's pretty rare in this type of game where you literally have a deadline. Now that you have delivered word of Kairos' edict to the armies, the time remaining until Kairos' Day of Swords appears next to the current dates on the navigation bar. The terms of Kairos' edict must be met by this date, or everyone in Vengeance Well would die, as I mentioned. So, we've got that quest to do, taking the Outer Valley, which is part of the primary quest, and also the Battle of Echocal Crossing, and that was from, was it Isotanis earlier on? We have to find some iron there as well, and also in Echocal Crossing, so that's two birds of one stone. I almost said the other way around then. Right, so we can talk with Graven Ash now before we get to doing these quests. Let's have a look around.
I got it.
The tent. This battle reports from Echocal Crossing blames the failure of the assault on the village on the Scarlet Chorus. Apparently, the scouts failed to report critical intelligence about the enemy composition. We've just got enough subterfuge
Got it.
there, and there's Iron Walker boots, which are actually made from iron. May be well worth using. Stick that in the stash, and there's a lesser potion of healing, which of course will always be useful. Let's talk to Graven Ash then. Graven Ash, the Archon of War, lets out a long sigh as he surveys the maps and models displayed about his desk. He glances over his shoulder, making brief eye contact with you, furrows his brow, and turns back to his contemplation. The first time you proclaimed an edict, you gave the enemy a suspicious amount of time to ready themselves. I'd chalk it up to excessive mercy for a backwards people, but when the edict is against your kin, that order you follow to the letter. May we speak a moment? I tire of all this endless prattle. I am the Archon of War, and the Overlord has decreed battle. If you wish to help, go speak with my soldiers. Return when you have done something useful. The Archon of War pounds the haft of his maul against the ground. I probably lack enough favour to converse with him currently. And that conversation with the Archons can, as you may gather, go very differently depending on the options you picked via conquest, and even the options up until this point that you chose as well, to a certain extent. Right, let's actually go and pay a visit to Arenos. Okay, it looks as if Verse actually has something to say to me that is being highlighted. I'll take a look in the reputations as well. These have changed basically because of actions taken within Conquest and also within the Tent. And yeah, previous. So yeah, this is the current state of favor and disfavor, or wrath, with the Archons. And as you can see, it also affects things here. I haven't gotten to the point where I've actually picked up any reputations yet. Well, reputation skills. May have been possible to actually do this now if you heavily focus in one way or another. But yeah, I haven't really yet, have I? So, well, maybe I have to do that in the future. Right, let's have a word with Verse then and try and scare her a bit, perhaps, if possible. Try and get the combo skill. How did you do that? Verse looks at you with a quizzical expression. What are you babbling about? Don't be an ass, this is serious business. Back in the Archon's war tent you cast an edict as casually as reading a supply shipment. How did you do that? Well, I've done it before. Don't I look stupid? You were the one who cast the Edict of Storms on Stalwart, didn't you? The one that tore the battlefield apart with a cyclone of Kairos' anger. Not silently. Well, call me impressed. Considering that you've read the words of Kairos more than once, I'm surprised that you're even alive to tell of it. Your vocal cords should have turned to ash by now. I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable, it's just worth recognizing what you've done. Not only are you Tunon's Fatebinder, you're the mouthpiece of the Overlord. Gives me plenty of reason to stick around. You're going places, and I want to see where they lead. If you say so, I have some questions
What do you need?
about you. And in fact, I've got a few questions, but I'm still gonna wait on this a tiny bit. I think I'm gonna do that when, or if, or when I pick up some more companions. I can do them all at once. Right, so let's go and start on some of these quests then. So I need to speak with the Iron Marshal. And after that, even pay a visit to the Scarlet Chorus camp and perhaps I could call Crossing wherever that happens to be. So, I don't recognize that guy. Servius. What do you mean you haven't heard from Commander Ironcore? It's been a full span since we sent word to him. Last we heard, Master Radix said to keep an eye on the northern pass, that he'd be coming through here. For the mercy of Kairos, we don't have the soldiers to send hunting through the trees for our own damn Earthshakers. And you can't actually talk to them. That happens to be an Earthshaker. Okay. There's an Iron Walker there. I'm not sure if we can have a long conversation or not. No. Stay vigilant, Fatebinder. Fatebinder Govanon, am I right? I'm Servius, Commander and 3rd generation disfavored. Specifically, I'm Servius the Younger. Some folks can't keep track. Ranks says Commander, but lately I'm just organising patrols and trying to stay out of the way. You should talk to Iron Marshal if you something official that needs discussing. What is it you need? I overheard you asking the Earthshaker where their reinforcements have gone. Is there a problem? I'm afraid so. Radix, the head of the Earthshakers, was supposed to arrive with a group of his most competent spell slingers to help break this stalemate. I don't know what's holding up their arrival, and that worries me. If you were at all inclined to lend a hand, we could use some arcane support on our side. I am gonna lend a hand. Northern Clearing is now unlocked on a world map. saying no in games like this tends to not get you many quests. Could you? I knew that Tunon's agent wouldn't fail us in a time of need. I'll mark the last known site of our Earthshaker reinforcements on your map. Good hunting, Fatebinder. What or why do you think the siege has been delayed for so long? Insufficient reputation. Well, shit, don't look at me. It's not like we had a standing army ready to tackle these idiots. The Legion is spread thin across the tiers. The two armies haven't worked well together in years. Why do you think that is? Come on, Binder. Seems like asking why beasts stink. The disfavored are only too eager to deliver Kairos' peace to the tiers, while the Scarlet Chorus bring only mayhem in their wake. You can't tell me the voices of Narat has a plan, and I'll take your word for it, but the chorus sure seems to blunder around, never moving with purpose as we do. I wonder if we've been fighting the same war, soldier. I've seen Ash yank his precious soldiers away from more battles than he's won. If you want to call that progress, be my guest, says Verse. Unless we find a way to work as one, I fear that the Scarlet Chorus will step in front of Graven Ash's strategies at every turn. As far as I'm concerned, it seems like the voices of Narat is here to amuse himself, while the rest of us are here to do our job. Tell me about yourself. Insufficient reputation again. I'm just short of it, I think, as well. Probably if I have one favour, I could have gotten some information out of him. Perhaps I'll come back to the people who I lack reputation with later on. Sorry, Binder. Even I know there's no law that can force me into small talk. If you want to make friends, bug someone else. Okay, so we now have a quest to find the Earthshakers, mages, to help the war effort, and I've spotted the Iron Marshal down here, so let's have a word. Don't just coddle the impact, push back with your shield, take the momentum. Iron Marshal Arenos, field commander of the disfavored, pounds her fist in the air as she calls out to the warriors on the training field. I said, eyes on your opponent's waistline. If you spend more than a glance checking his footwork, you've lost. Iron Marshal Arenos, the disfavored officer, turns to you, adjusting her pale golden surcoat. Okay, there's a bit of lore there. Right. As she clears her throat, needs to stay on top of the troops, or their skills will rust. It's for their own good, even if they don't believe it. How are your warriors reacting to the edict? Kairos' ultimatum has the camp on edge. Some with dread, but most are rife with anticipation. She points to the men sparring in the field. We have a lot of brothers and sisters to avenge, and the warriors are eager to take out some aggression. I, for one, choose to see the edict as a blessing, for it forces the generals to act, and we're long overdue. It was mentioned you're short on warriors and need help. What's the situation? I have brigades amassing along Placid, Echo Call, and Little Tooth crossings. The Veteran Guard may be able to hold one bridge, but they cannot hold against a concerted three-pronged attack. I have no right to give you orders, but the words falter, a short cough breaking her flow. But we all die to Kairos' edict should we fail, so I'm not about to let my pride blind me to the value of good help. This is the second major attack on the river, correct? What happened last time? Defeats in detail. We carved a bloody path up to the river, but at that point everyone who charged ahead was lost. We had no chorus backup. It was just a few disfavored squads. I can't tell you exactly how they were defeated, but we lost the whole assault team. She shakes her head, letting out a long, pained sigh. We found bodies, washing up in the river for days. It's not often that Tearsman put up such a good fight. It certainly made us reevaluate the number we'll need to take this valley. Really? Are you sure our scouts didn't give you all sorts of details about the enemy and you just chose to disregard our warnings? We can pass that blame after the war. Only the Oathbreakers matter now. I don't really want to lose loyalty or favour of either of them. Quite right. Getting our emotions into the mix won't hasten this campaign. What's the value of taking a crossing? We can't just march from here to the citadel with the Vendrian Guard manning the riverbanks, forwarding troops and supplies through even the narrowest points of the river makes us vulnerable to attack, especially since our armor wasn't built for swimming. She points north towards the mountain spire looming on the horizon. If we can take the river, we have a clear march on the citadel, and Ascension Hall will be ours in no time. The disfavored need my help. Trying to pour salt on my pride? We left Fort Resolution with 100 on 100, and there have been no reinforcements or reserves. I keep throwing warriors back into battle before they're properly rested, so yes, I need to rely on all our allies, especially since most of our allies are conscripted Tearsmen, worse than useless. If the disfavored didn't take every opportunity to insult the Scarlet Chorus, perhaps you'd find our help more forthcoming. Shut your snout, filthy mongrel. I won't suffer childish japes in my camp. I think that's a good option there, so I'm going to glare at verse. You speak out of turn and offend our host. Apologise. You want me to what? She glares at you, but something in her expression reflects a doubt, and I've gone up a favour and getting close now to tier 3 and the first combo ability with verse. Fine, you know, I should have kept my big mouth shut. What's my help worth to you? What's it worth? Arenios takes a half step back, placing her arms on her sides. You read the edict. If we don't take Ascension Hall, it's your sorry hide too. Do you need a bribe to care about your own survival? Turn to leave. Sorry to waste your time, clearly. The Scarlet Chorus is in greater need of help. We are better prepared than the Scarlet Mob. That much is true, but the downside of being Kairos' most elite fighting force is that we only accept the best, which leaves us short-handed at times. She cocks her head to the side. I get it, your duty was to proclaim an edict, not to anchor a shield wall. If you assist us, I can put in a good word with the Archon Ash and the soldiers. I'd like to help, but I lack the iron to stand in your shield wall. It's probably better than a bit of money, I assume, from that. And favour isn't enough. And you think I've something your size just gathering rust somewhere? I've fewer men to arm than the chorus, but the Forge-bound barely keep the Legion fully armed and fitted. She reaches into a pouch at her belt, pulling forth an etched wooden token. Give this mark to any disfavored quartermaster. I trust them to know what we can spare and what must be hoarded. But know that much of our incoming iron is already promised to soldiers who have waited years for repairs. I will assist. Then our plan might just work. The Iron Marshal lifts her gauntlet close to her face, shifting her eyes from you to the metal articulations. We are loath to work with those who do not share our training and our values, but we know that Tunon, the Adjudicator, selects only the most capable minds for his court, and I trust you will honor us all on the field. Antio will be leading a charge at Equical Crossing. Assisting you will be Barak of the Stone Shields. She points to a heavily armoured soldier standing sentry at the edge of the training field. Before you ask, no, the Forgebound weren't sloshed on Dappleseed when they fitted his armour. He survived the full force of the Edict of Storms, and this armour doesn't exactly come off. Tactically it's quite brilliant, but otherwise it's something of a curse. Tapping her helmet twice, Arenio signals to the hulking presence. Barak can meet the Fatebinder. The soldier that steps up to you better resembles an amalgamation of rusted blades and mismatched pieces of armour fused into a vaguely human shape. He reeks of sweat, feces, and whatever oil treatment keeps him flexible, delightful.
Fatebinder, the Iron Marshal has tasked me with keeping you alive, and I have no intention of disappointing her. That should be enough assurance for anyone.
That voice may be familiar to you if you played Pillars of Eternity as well, certain Mauer that actor played. So out of those options, I'm just going to nod silently. Disfavored, favor 1. Barak returns your nod, silent, save for the creaking articulations in his alloyed carapace.
Barak, is that you under there? I had no idea you were in Vendrian's well. Fatebinder, do you know this walking anchor?
Okay, it's got a few options here. So we could ask if they know each other, which apparently Verse certainly knows him. Could mention I met Barak in the Stalwart campaign. Just a minute, you two. Know each other?
No. Oh, that is to say, yes. I'm already as familiar with this ironclad halfwit as I care to be.
She regards Barak with a mixed look.
We don't have time to trade jabs today, Verse. After the siege, you can throw as many tantrums as you please. I suggest that we remain focused on the mission.
Barak
No
is
offense to the
a new
mission,
companion, by
but
the
seeing
way.
you looking like a garbage heap and reeking of a mass grave is more amusing by far. Did you forget how to don your armor, or did Graven Ash leave you out in the rain?
Barak sighs, a frustrated growl shaking his iron enclosure of a suit. So I can gain loyalty with Barak. I'm not actually sure which of his reputations I want to aim for first. I could get extra loyalty from Verse. I think I'll gain the loyalty. I encountered Barak in the Stalwart campaign, though he appears much changed. He's an excellent soldier.
You're generous to say so. I'm afraid I left the better part of myself on the killing fields of Stalwart, but it's still in my pride and honor to serve the Legion.
His voice falters. You can't tell if it's hesitation or regret that stalls him. The Fatebinder will be joining us for the push against the river. I figured an extra hand might help. And more importantly, if my worries come true and a chorus tries to impede the mission, we will have an observer from the court on our side.
Better to work with the Honorable Binder than some chorus children.
He nods to you, his armor creaking as he bends his neck. I ask that Barak accompany you there to arbitrate cooperation between his company and the Scarlet Chorus. Equical Crossing is now unlocked on the world map. Barak, you've been without a cohort since the last Battle of Stalwart. It's time we gave you a task more worthy than hauling wagons and leading training drills. She plants her hands on her hips and speaks in clipped official terms. Ash has assigned you to the Fatebinder service. You're to assume this task is ongoing until we find a more permanent spot for you, which could very well mean the swiftly approaching end of this war, or when the Fatebinder dismisses you. Is that understood? Barrack regards the Iron Marshal in oppressive silence. That's an order, Barrack. She shakes her head and sighs. Return her focus to you. He can be as stubborn as pulling a spire out of the earth, but he's a good soldier. I hope you don't mind the company. I'm honoured to have a member of the Iron Legion at my side, Barrack. Gain average loyalty. Disfavoured. Gain average favour. Yeah, I think that's the direction I want to go in. Excellent. I look forward to your success in the field. Okay, having completed that conversation, various things have been updated in a journal. I actually have a new companion, Barrack now of course, and he's even ready to level up as well, as you can see over here, which I'll be doing in a bit. There's an icon over here I'm not sure I've mentioned about yet. The Edict of Execution actually gives us extra resolve to, well, achieve our goals, I guess, before we all die within the valley. There's a few things that I want to do before I move on out towards probably the Scarlet Chorus camp I'm going to go to next.